Beautiful. Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. I want to do a quick introduction. My name is Cassie Rubio. I am the program manager here at Coding It Forward. I am joined by Yu Yong, our other amazing Coding It Forward program manager, and we're so excited to jump into specifics about our summer fellowship. Today's info session is going to also be with our alums from Coding It Forward. We have 3 folks here that are excited to chat with you later. Before we do that, though, and get into any specifics, I just want to share 2 housekeeping notes for us. So the first is that all of this information we're sharing with you today is getting recorded. We're going to put this onto our YouTube. It's also on our website. So all that really means is that you can sit back, relax, and just be present for the information that we're sharing. Also, second point of housekeeping, hopefully as you saw in the chat that Yu Young put there, we are going to be having a Q&A at the end of our conversation. So please send any of your questions to Yu Young, and just a little patience, we will get to those questions at the end of today's conversation. I guarantee you probably like 90% of those questions are going to be answered in our slides. So hang tight for that. And yeah, without further ado, I think let's kick this thing off. Thanks, Yu Young. Also, my voice may be a little scratchy. It may go in and out. I am still recovering from the holidays, as I'm sure all of you are. So we're going to do this. If you are new here, welcome. We are Coding It Forward, a nonprofit organization that has been operating since 2017. If you found out about us through a random email from your school or through Handshake, we're so excited that you are here. And just a little bit about the work we are doing. We are empowering the next generation of mission-driven technologists. So I believe that's all of you here today. If you are tech savvy and you're a problem solver and you want to use your talents for the public good, this is absolutely the right fellowship in place for you. Like I said, today's conversation is packed. So here's just a quick agenda of some of the things we're going to be going over today. We're going to start with just an overview, some of the basics about the fellowship itself. Then we're going to move into more of the programmatic offerings for professional and community building opportunities. We're going to move into a bit about our alumni. So basically a snapshot of who they are and where they've been after the fellowship has ended. Then we're going to get into the meat of the conversation, which is the application process. I know that's what you all really want to know about. And so we're going to explore what the timeline looks like, the overview, the scoring criteria, all of that good stuff. And like I mentioned, we have 3 wonderful alums here. We will do an Ask Me Anything with them. It's your chance to get some tips and tricks before you hit submit. And we will wrap on that larger Q&A with all of you so that we can end today's call feeling confident and informed and ready to start working hard on those applications. Awesome. Thanks, Yu Young. So in short, our fellowship is a 10-week internship experience. It's an opportunity to empower early career technologists who are innovating at the local, state, and federal government level across the country. This is a really unique opportunity because it remains one of the only tried and true pathways for early career talent to break in. And just seeing so many of you on this call signals to us that you also are passionate about public interest technology. So here is a preview of some of the past government partners that we have worked with. As you can see, we kind of have the whole map covered between local, state, and federal. This is not a list of who our 2026 summer partners are. We are definitely still working on finalizing that, but good just to get you all a little bit familiar. And then next, we want you to learn a little bit more about what the work you could potentially be doing as a fellow looks like. So here are 3 examples of past projects. The first is from a fellow who was placed at the state of New Jersey. There, they were working to improve the accessibility of unemployment benefits application pages. That page had 20,000 daily users. We had another fellow who was placed at the city of Los Angeles. developing COVID-19 vaccine outreach tools. And obviously, when COVID-19 first happened, that was super important and continues to be a vital resource. And finally, we have a third fellow who was placed at the General Services Administration, where they were building out a new AI chatbot. So as you can see between these three examples, the work that you can do in 10 weeks is truly incredible, it's transformative, it's improving the daily lives of people across the country. And if you want to learn more about projects beyond just these three, I highly suggest you visit our website, codingitforward.com. And if you scroll down to the bottom of that homepage, you're going to see our GitHub. Click on that GitHub icon and definitely study up on the projects, on the tools that these fellows were using, because that's going to help strengthen your application. Okay, so once you've decided to apply, something you are going to have to choose is a track. We are hiring for 5 different types of roles here for the fellowship, that being cybersecurity, data, design, product management, engineering. I know a lot of you want to apply across the different tracks, but we are telling you you can only apply to one. Let it be the track that you are the most confident and competent in. This is kind of not the time to choose something new that you don't have experience in. You are going to be expected on day one to serve as a technical contributor. So choose the track you have the most experience in. Okay. I'm going to take a drink of water for this one because there's quite a few different eligibility criteria to explain. They have changed since last year. So let's start with age and work eligibility. First, you must be at least 18 years old at the start of the program to be eligible. You must be living in the United States for all 10 weeks of the summer fellowship. And you must also identify as a US citizen, a US national, or a permanent resident to apply. I'm going to say that one more time because it's very important. You must be either a US citizen, a US national, or a permanent resident to apply. At this time, due to our government partnerships, we are unable to consider other work authorizations, regardless of the type of visa, CPT, or OPT authorizations, okay? Another change we have for this year for eligibility is educational background. Currently, we are only accepting applications from upperclassmen in undergrad. An upperclassman essentially just means current juniors or current senior standing, or you can be a student in any level of a master's or doctoral program, or a recent graduate of any of the three. If you are not, we are also accepting applications from bootcamp or certificate program students. And as far as dates go, so this is another one, graduation requirements. We are asking that you have graduated from your educational program no earlier than May 1st, 2025. If applicable, we're also asking that you will have not finished your bachelor's before December 31st, 2027, or from a boot camp or certificate before January 31st, 2026. So I know that is a lot of dates. If you don't have that in your brain, no problem. Again, it is on our website, and we have an eligibility screener built into our application. So you will literally know before you move forward at all if you are eligible or not. But really, this is just to set you up for success and make sure you have the proper skill set and experience to thrive in your fellowship placement. Okay, so let's cover some logistics now. As I mentioned, this is a 10-week-long program over the summer, and it is going to take place from June 8th through August 14th. These dates are not movable, they are set in stone, so please mark your calendars. We can, however, make special accommodations as needed for any folks that are wrapping up finals or graduation. We know sometimes that tends to happen in the beginning of our fellowship. Also, as a reminder, this is a full-time work experience, meaning you are expected to be clocking in and clocking out for 40 hours every week. Fellows are being paid at scale from $20 to $25 per hour. And as I mentioned earlier, all fellows must be residing in the United States for all 10 weeks of the program. That means no international travel book your wonderful international vacation either before or after the fellowship ends. And that's really just because you are going to be having access to sensitive government data or property, and we need to keep that here. Okay, so along with doing really impactful work at your government office, you also have so many different types of programming offerings to look forward to as a fellow. The first one is going to be professional programming. So we want to move forward. Professional programming is going to look like weekly conversations with top technical leaders across the field. They are excited and here to share more about the products that they've built, the services they've developed, the policies that they've crafted. They are truly some of the most talented, most generous, hardest working people in the field. And so I think it's just such a privilege that they're going to share space with us and be very candid in these conversations, answering your questions. Not only that, but as a fellow, you will also have access to one-on-one mentorship. And we take a lot of care in creating those matches for you to ensure that you are going to have solid guidance for whatever you want to do after the fellowship ends. And of course, you are going to have constant access to us, the Coding It Forward team, through office hours and weekly calls. Okay, so not only that, you are also going to have access to a wonderful cohort experience. Even though the fellowship itself exists virtually, we are making sure we are not skimping on any community building time for you all. So we are hosting weekly calls with your cohort for socializing, game nights, trivia, just mutual support and asking, how are you doing? How has your week been? And all of these are vital opportunities to help you feel like you can really build rapport with fellows and have relationships that will last with you long after the program ends. After this, you graduate and become an alumni. Yay! We have our 3 awesome alums here today. Our alums are amazing. We have over 700 of them in our network now. So let's learn about who our alums are and what you have to look forward to. At this point, we have placed alums in over 80 different offices. Our fellows have come from across all 50 states represented. They've come from 200 different academic institutions almost, and our cohorts have been overwhelmingly majority BIPOC, women or non-binary folks. And so we're just really impressed and excited for our alums and the work that they've done since they've left the fellowship. You can look forward to lots of different perks as an alumni, some of those including happy hours where we have opportunities for you to meet other people in person and other mentors, other colleagues from the field. We also have, I think, which is really important, I think nowadays, a lot of folks who want to hire Coding It Forward alums, and so they send us job openings that aren't necessarily public, or other alums who are happy to put a good word in for you at their places of work. And just, yeah, getting to run into each other at conferences and different social events. Also, too, here's a snapshot of our alums who have continued to go on and work in government technology. We have one particular fellow who became the first ever chief data officer of the state of Utah, which I think is so amazing. And not only that, if we want to go to the next slide, we have alums who have gone on to work in social impact, in nonprofit, pursued higher education for graduate school. So also, if you're ever curious about programs you want to apply to, our alums are always so generous with sharing about their experiences. And of course, we've had alums who have gone on into the private sector. So really, no matter where you choose to land after the fellowship, we are giving you real transferable skills. Okay, gonna take another drink of water. This is another important one, application process. So this is a 3-step application journey, let's call it, before you get an offer. The first stage is going to be an application. It is short, it is sweet. We will talk about it in just 1 second. The second stage is going to be a video interview with the Coding It Forward team. We'll send you resources to prepare, but essentially, we will select a smaller group from stage 2 and invite them to stage 3, which is a final video interview with the government offices themselves. They will determine who then we should offer the fellowship slots to, and that's really how we select our next cohort. So for the application, it is due January 19th. That is, I believe, 2 Mondays from now. So it is coming up very, very quickly. Applications are open now. Please, after this call, if you're excited, start working on your application. We always encourage folks to apply sooner rather than later. And as I mentioned, the first step of that application is going to be that eligibility questionnaire. We want to just make sure you don't spend any extra seconds working on stuff if you are not eligible. If you are, you will then be passed forward and given the go ahead to start submitting your materials. The first material you will be asked to submit is a resume. So I want to pay close attention to this. Every person has a different style of resume. So to create a standardized experience, we have created a standardized format. It is a coding it forward particular resume, and you can create that by either using our template or the builder tool. All of that is on the application. They are both awesome. There's truly no difference. Really, all I want to highlight is that please follow the directions. You guys, please. We want to make sure we don't have to reject any applications because a resume was not formatted properly. I also want to note that if you are a design student, a design candidate, you will also be asked to submit a portfolio of your past work. Okay, so just be prepared for that. And then finally, you will be asked to submit 2 short answer responses about your interest in the fellowship. What is the impact you want to make this summer? Why do you care about public interest technology? These are not perfect answers that we're looking for. You don't have to be an incredible writer. We also really don't want you to just plug these into ChatGPT and copy paste. We could kind of definitely tell when that has happened. So we want to know about your own unique perspective and experiences. Okay. And once you submit, these are going to be the things we're screening for in your application materials, 5 core values. The first is for technical proficiency. Like I mentioned, you're choosing which track you want to apply to, and that's so we can make sure we are matching you to the appropriate placement and you can actually do the job you're getting hired for. We are looking for folks who are mission driven, so people who want to leverage your technical skills to make government more equitable and service the American people better. Also looking for people that are excellent communicators. That means you can talk to people that are non-technical and technical stakeholders alike, people that can make information digestible, accessible. We are looking for independent problem solvers, people that think outside of the box, that take initiative, that are ready to be contributors on their team. And finally, we are screening for folks that know how to navigate ambiguity. Working in government is such a different beast, and so there's really no playbook for it. We want folks that can kind of accommodate and navigate that ever-changing pace of work in government. So if you do all 5 of those things, you will have values alignment. Yay! So we care about values alignment. We also care about technical ability. Like I said, follow the formatting for that resume, answer those short answer responses honestly, so that we can really understand and see your top technical skills. What we care less about is going to be the prestige of your educational institution, your previous internships, your grades, your GPA, or your high school accomplishments. We don't care about those as much, so don't worry. No, you took away the doodles on the screen. I'm just kidding. Okay, that is all the conversation I have for you today regarding the fellowship overview. Now we are going to switch into our alumni Q&A. And I'm so excited to introduce to you 3 alums from years past. We have Lucy, Ornella, and Michael joining us. So if we want to bring you guys on to our hypothetical stage, welcome. And let's start off. Hi, everyone. So good to see all of you. Let's start off with introductions. I will let you all introduce yourselves. So we want to know your name again, please, the government office and role you were doing, and just a preview of what was the project you were working on. And we can do this popcorn style. So Ornella, I see you first, and then you can popcorn from there.
Hi everyone, I'm Ornella Chumi and I'm currently a product manager at Workday, so that's what I do. And I've been doing that ever since my experience with the fellowship. I was at the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, I guess class of 2023. That's when I completed the fellowship. And my government project, I honestly was a little bit all over the place, which was a good thing, because as Cassie mentioned earlier, when you work in government, you don't know what to expect. So I spend a lot of time just like either analyzing data or doing some like sitting into user research. So I don't think that with my fellowship I was able to complete one specific project, but I did get a chance to work on different types of projects and help me develop the type of product manager that I am now. But yeah, I hope I answered the question, Cassie. And I'll popcorn it to Lucy.
Hello, everyone. It's nice to meet you all. My name is Lucy. I was a 2024 software engineering fellow at the US Census Bureau. I'm currently a senior at Columbia University, so haven't quite graduated, but I did just finish an internship on Google's Data Commons team, which is a public interest team at Google that works with national statistics offices around the world. So my census experience was super relevant to that team, and it was a great experience to get some public and private sector experience in the public interest realm. My project with the Census Bureau was working on building a query builder for the International Trade API. That API is really like a primary resource for a lot of economists and policy um, makers who want international trade data, but it can be hard for them to access it because they don't have a technical background. And so I built out a little web portal that creates a user interface for that API, which eliminates the need for them to know kind of the jargon of how to write API calls. And that's now part of the Census Bureau's website and has improved access for a lot of economists. And Michael, do you want to go?
Sure. Yeah. So my name is Michael. I was a 2024 fellow at CIF. I work with the U.S. Census Bureau as a data engineer intern, and my project was on the demographics frame team for the U.S. Census, basically modernizing their data infrastructure. So what that looked like was improving the guardrails, verifying the proper dates and data sources that mostly come from sources like the American Community Survey and like the Decennial Survey and other things you might be familiar with. The other part of the project was reducing data load times. So we did a SQL querying, um, but that was the majority of the project. Now I work at Google as a software engineer. Is there anything I missed? I don't
No,
know.
you all got it. Thank you. So our next question is kind of more about your day to day. So if you can explain to us, what was a normal day like in the office, I guess virtually. What was your team structure like, and maybe what were some of the tools or skills that you were using most frequently? And actually, let's start with Lucy this time, and then you can popcorn.
Sounds good. Yeah. So yeah, I was working remotely, but I had really close contact with my team. My team at Census was truly one of the biggest perks of the internship. Literally every single person I worked with was like the nicest person I've ever worked with. My manager in particular, we talked every day. He was always available, and he also just had a personal love for like the history of the Census Bureau. And so I got to learn a ton about kind of the whole workings of the Census Bureau, international trade stuff, the actual census stuff, all of that. And so I think that was a really great benefit. Day to day, kind of, I was meeting with him, messaging him with most of the day. We had weekly meetings. We also had weekly like social meetings. So I still felt like I had a really deep connection with my team, even though we were working remotely. And I also had a big role in kind of designing and implementing my project. So even from early on, I got to work with my team to decide which technical tools I was using, what my kind of timeline would look like for the summer, all of that. And that was a really great opportunity to kind of get my hands on the project from day one. I wasn't just like handed the details of a technical project and just kind of like wrote implementing it without any input from myself. In terms of tools that I used most, I worked mostly with Python and Flask specifically, and also Angular. So Python was something I was very familiar with and had a ton of experience with. Angular was new to me. I had used React in the past, but Angular specifically was new. And so my team was also very helpful in helping me navigate kind of a new framework, and the technical details of working with Angular for the first time. Um, yeah, toward the end of my internship, I also had some opportunities to do some kind of informal user research where I worked with economists and people who weren't technical but were kind of my target audience for my project within the Census Bureau. So that was also a great opportunity to meet with people who weren't directly working on my project or in my kind of sector of the Bureau. And I learned a lot about them, and quite literally everyone was happy to talk to me, help me. Everyone was so excited about the CIF fellows. So it was a really great experience overall. Ornella, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I can go next. My experience was really fun. It was also virtual, and at the CFPB, everybody just loved CIF fellows, and the team that I worked with were very supportive. My day-to-day was just like very all over the place, and it kind of mimicked the role of a product manager because in the morning I will start by working with data analysts looking at consumer complaints, and then in the afternoon I'll sit in into user research interviews. If you're not familiar with what the CFPB does, but they essentially help everyday consumers like you and myself advocate for them. So it's a bureau that advocates for consumers. And it was really nice. It was kind of like bittersweet hearing people's stories and how they're impacted by different policies and whatnot. So that was pretty cool to sit into that. And also another stakeholder that I worked with were lawyers. I didn't think I would enjoy working with lawyers, but it was actually quite fun because you could see, like in real time, how a specific policy can transform how a product is designed and how lawyers are able to interpret a very vague policy into something actionable. So I would say that was one of my favorite part of being part of the CFPB, and that experience with being able to work with lawyers is actually what helped me get into my role. Right now, I work in the data privacy sector, so that's one of the takeaways or skills, right? Being able to translate or understand law, like legal jargon, and translate that into actionable product requirements. Um, some of the tools that we used often, I believe Jira, they followed the agile methodology, which was interesting because I think a year before I started the fellowship, they were still doing waterfall. So it was interesting to see how the bureau was shifting their mindset from waterfall to agile methodology. And it was also nice to be able to lead some of our daily stand-ups. So that's what I did. Other tools that I used was Miro. We used Miro a lot to put together personas and so on. So that was just a quick summary of what my day-to-day was like, and I'll pass it to Michael.
Yeah, I would say my internship experience probably mirrored what both Lucy and Ornella experienced. It was also remote, and I was teamed up with another fellow at CIF for this project from Berkeley. And overall, I'd say like the day-to-day looked like daily stand-up. I forgot when that was, but we would have daily stand-up, and then otherwise we'd sometimes be able to like have one-on-one mentorship with our assigned team lead. I mostly ended up working with three main people within the group of 20 or so on the team, which is namely like the senior manager of the project, and then also a senior data engineer who was like our main contact, both me and my co-fellow, and then one other data engineer, although there were, I think, other data analysts and engineers on the team. In terms of the tooling and the skills, I'd say half of it was internal tooling. The other portion was just AWS Cloud Suite. And then the languages that we use were both Python and SQL. Um, I believe that like the program was really useful in terms of developing both the technical application, allowing you to build end to end, but also develop your soft skills. Being able to communicate technical documentation and ideas, I think is something that will stick with you throughout your career, and I think is a big takeaway. Along with that, I think it's really nice that you're able to like work directly both with other fellows, but also have, I think it was weekly meetings in the group breakouts. Correct me if I'm wrong, Cassie, but I remember that being really nice. And then there's also a personal mentor that gets assigned to you if you do end up joining this fellowship program, and he's someone that I speak to today. So it really is a testament to the community built here at CIF.
I love to hear that, Michael. And to Ornella's point, yes, all of you, if you get placed in a government office, the second they know you are a Coding It Forward fellow, they are going to be obsessed with you. They're going to want to make you their mentee. So just be prepared for all of the outpouring of love and support. And again, they want to stay in your life even after the fellowship ends, which is just, I think, so amazing and such a testament to all of the amazing work that you as fellows did that, they want to continue supporting you in your endeavors. For the sake of time, we have one more question we want to get to. So looking back, what do you feel was either the most impactful piece of the fellowship for you, whether personally or professionally, or maybe how did it really inform the work that you're doing now today in your current role? And Michael, let's go with you this time. We can popcorn.
Sure. I touched up on this a little bit in my previous answer, but it's really the people. I think CIF curates a really a really good group of talented individuals, but also people who are willing to hear you out and you can empathize with them and just talk day-to-day life beyond your work. So I think that's really quite special. I would say specifically the mentorship is something that I took away from the program and has been super beneficial with me and inspires me to go and mentor others through various other programs. So I would say absolutely, absolutely take advantage of the people that this program connects you with because I think that's going to carry you throughout your career. Oh, and sorry, I can popcorn it to Ornella.
Um, One of the key takeaways, I really admire how passionate the people that I worked with were. Right now in the US that has like a very like sensitive political climate. And I appreciate how people were able to put that behind and just like focus and just were led by their passion. And that's something that I'm able to that's just like a mindset I'm able to like take away and, in my day-to-day work. And not to sound cliche, also the people like my manager that while I was at doing the fellowship, I still talk to her on a occasionally, and now we just like talk about personal life stuff, and I don't think that's something I would be able to get if I wasn't part of the fellowship. And also the as part of the application, I felt like the when I was doing the application, I had a moment to kind of like sit back and really think through about, the changes you could do within your community. So yeah, I think I'm going on a tangent now, but just really take the time and be mindful of the experience and be present, because that will have it would really transform your experience in the moment and also in the future. I hope that made sense. So I'll pass it to Lucy.
Yeah, I think building on both of your guys' points, I felt like the team that I worked with and also the Census Bureau in general, also focused a lot on giving us guidance on what our future careers in the Census Bureau specifically, but also like federal jobs and more broadly like public interest jobs could look like. We had a few sessions with current engineers and technologists at the Census Bureau that kind of walked us through potential programs to becoming a federal employee and kind of like what that could look like well into your career, which I thought was really helpful in kind of guiding what I wanted to do, and not just in terms of what kind of engineering work I wanted to do, but also like how I could achieve that. I feel like a lot of times it doesn't seem as easy as just like submitting an application the way you would for kind of like a standard private sector company. Um, and so I feel like generally that support of it really felt like my team wanted me to continue to work in this public sector space, and really was willing to kind of guide me through that was incredibly helpful. And then on the flip side of that, also like Michael was saying, my mentor was really amazing and they had a lot of experience on the private sector side of public interest technology. And so I feel like coupled together, the support of my team and the support of my mentor really helped me solidify my understanding of what a longer term career could look like in that space. And also helped guide me now that I'm doing like I did another summer at like a private sector public interest team. And that was a really valuable experience to kind of compare the two. And now I can see both of these being in my future, and I have a much more solid sense of how I can get there. And so I really felt not only did I learn a lot technically and really bond with the people I worked with, but I also have a much clearer sense of what my career could look like going forward in this area.
Awesome. Amazing. Makes me so happy hearing all of that. Thank you all for sharing. I do have three questions from folks in the audience that they want to know from our alums. So, for the sake of time, I'm going to give each alum just one of the questions to answer. So, Lucy, this is your question. What was your technical background prior to the fellowship that made you feel confident to apply?
Yeah, absolutely. So I had done some kind of like data science work in the past, and then I had also worked at a very early stage startup, kind of building out some basic APIs and database management for them. And I think a big part of what I emphasized in my application, what my team focused on when they were interviewing me, was being able to work independently. And so that experience at a startup where I was working kind of like the guiding engineer on this specific part of our project, that featured prominently as I was interviewing and also was a really valuable skill in my actual internship project. I worked with a lot of statisticians and economists who were super helpful in guiding my project, but kind of left some of the technical details to me and a smaller number of people that I could work with on those. And so I think that independence really helped me feel confident going in. And then also specifically, I was working with APIs in that previous experience, and I was working on an API at the Census Bureau. And so that was kind of more team specific, but that was also relevant experience to have. But as I mentioned earlier, I also didn't have every skill that they were looking for. For example, they wanted me to work in Angular, and I hadn't done that before. And so I was able to connect that to similar experience that I had with React and similar frameworks. But I didn't necessarily have, and they didn't expect me to have like every single language and framework that they listed that what they were planning to use.
I think that's really great advice, Lucy. Michael, I have a question for you. So I know you talked about the value that having a mentor meant for you as a fellow and now as an alum. So folks are curious, how did you maximize that time you had with your mentor? Any tips?
Mm, I think, to be honest, I lucked out with my mentor. He was very down to earth, had a very fruitful career both in public and private sector work. So he had a lot to draw on and to be able to like answer my questions, whether it was recruiting or career or like, I mean, I was doing data engineering work at this internship, and then I was transitioning into SWE work, which is slightly different. So he was able to touch on that. I think you can maximize your mentorship by really connecting with them as a human being, more than just a resource. These are people too, and they have interesting backgrounds, as do you, right? And being able to connect with them in some way beyond just the work, I think gives you a much more fruitful experience. And just keep in mind that there's a lot of people here who may be a mentor to you, right? Maybe it's Cassie even, or maybe it's the fellow interns that you work with who will later become some of your coworkers. So yeah, just keeping in mind that there's a really big, extensive community here to draw on and to connect with.
Absolutely. And if you've never had a mentor before, we also have a lot of resources to kind of inform conversations and sample agendas. So if the idea of like sitting with a mentor one-on-one makes you nervous, that's also okay. We got your back on that, but over time you're going to feel really comfortable with your mentor and they're just really there to help you. They're excited to be there, like Michael said. Ornella, a quick question for you. What is something you wish you knew before starting the program, or any advice you'd have for folks prepping before?
Oh, that's a hard question.
No, just like a really easy, casual question for you.
What's something I knew before? I will say that I will be honest, at the beginning, because it was virtual, I was not very like present, to be honest, because I wanted to, you know, be more engaged.
Hmm.
Um, I feel like if I had been more engaged at the beginning of the program, it would have made my difference even better than it was. Um, and Lucy and Michael seemed like they had really great mentors. For me, I wish I did the effort of like, doing the work and being more proactive with the mentor because the mentors that they assign you, they genuinely want to help, but you also got to do the work. I wish I did I did the work, but honestly, I just felt like my team was already enough of a resource. That's kind of why I kind of slacked off on the whole mentorship part. Um, yeah. I yeah, I don't want to sound cliche. Just being present, to be honest, would make a huge difference. And taking your time with the application process and being honest, because if you're not honest with your application, then you get assigned to something that does not make sense, then that's kind of on you and that will ruin your experience. So just being honest, because the honesty is going to help the folks on the CIF team match you with the right mentor, the right team, and so on. So be present and be honest. That's
I love it. Words to live by. Also, just kind of in life in general, right? Not just the application or your fellowship. Thank you so much, alums. It was so wonderful seeing you. Thank you for answering our questions and sharing more about your experiences. Take care. And for folks that are in the audience, stay put. We are now at the Q&A portion. So again, thank you to our alums. And
Thanks for having
you,
us.
Michael.
Thanks. Good luck, everyone.
Thank you. Great to meet you all.
Bye, Lucy. Thank you, Byronella. Okay, and here's Yu Yang. We haven't gotten to see Yu Yang's face quite yet. Hi, Yu Yang. What
Hello,
questions are we
hello.
answering today?
All right, I've gotten quite a few questions from folks, and I have grouped them into kind of buckets of themes. So the first one is around, I think, past applications. People wanted to know about how many students apply to our fellowship each year, how many people get in, how many people get into each track, is there a number that we accept into each track? Okay. So I would say we get thousands of applications every year. I think that number keeps growing. We see all of your enthusiasms, your excitement for doing this work. It is really hard to put a number on how many people we get accepted because another factor that goes into our process is the government side. So it really depends on how many projects, how many partners that we will be able to work with each year. So there is not a set number per se for us to accept or move forward, a percentage to move forward. So just apply and we will try our best to find you the opportunities when they become available.
I also just want
Um,
to jump in for a second too, Yu Yang, and
yeah,
encourage people to reapply.
yes.
Different years have different cohort sizes, so that acceptance rate changes. But we have folks that have applied multiple times and they do eventually get in. So do not be discouraged if the first time around you didn't get accepted.
Yeah, absolutely. I was a former fellow. I did putting it forward fellowship in 2021 and I applied twice. So it a lot of times, because there is a different factor that goes into our process with our government partners and the projects that they come to us with. This is not like if you do not get in one year, it's not a reflection that you're not a qualified candidate. A lot of times there just might not be a project that is well suited for the skill sets that you are able to bring to us that particular cohort. So don't get discouraged. Please do reapply in the future if you're still eligible, and we would love to have your application. Cool. All right. How is the initial application looked at and reviewed?
So I think we went over that, but just as a quick refresher on that, again, we are looking for your technical ability. You're going to highlight that in your resume, in your short answers. And remember those core values we're looking for. So someone dedicated to public service, who is an excellent communicator, technically proficient, someone who can navigate ambiguity and think outside of the box, be an independent thinker. Those are the qualities we are screening for in our fellows.
Yeah, and I will also add, I think We pride ourselves for actually reviewing every single application that comes in.
Yeah.
We do not use any like resume screener, ATS, trying to index keywords. Every single one of your applications will be read by a member of our staff. We want to give you the same level of commitment and respect that you have put into putting together your application, and we want to know each and every one of you so that we can move you forward in a way that tailors to your skill set. So I just also want to call that out, and now that you know that we read your application. So please
Now don't
don't
use the
throw
ChatGPT.
exactly. Don't throw ChatGPT at us, please.
Yeah.
All right. So I think those are all of the kind of application or past application. People are also wondering about when can we find out. I would say we don't have an exact timeline. We are still getting applications come in, so really depending on volume. But another thing that we can promise is we will let you know if you do not get selected. We also do not like to ghost people, so
Yeah.
you will get an answer at some point, whether you're moving forward, whether you're not selected. We will be very open about that. Are there people at CIF who can evaluate my resume during the application process, or talk to people about learning about how things work, solving problems, applying to a specific area? Unfortunately, we won't be able to provide that level of one-on-one support given the volume of applications that come in. We do have, I believe, 2 application office hours.
I will drop those into the chat right now.
Yeah, so I think one is actually tomorrow, and then there's another one sometime next week. So if you do have specific individual questions that you feel like it's a lot to write an email, feel free to drop by. It's an open office hour. Both of us will be there to answer your questions. But please come having already read our websites, because we do get a lot of applicants that stop by. It's like, so how can I apply? There's the website there. So please do that. Come with some informed questions or any specific eligibility questions.
Something I want to share for that note too, also, so we can't give you that one-on-one support as much as we would love to, truly, but we have a lot of resources there for you. So again, we have that resume template. We even have sample resumes that you can reference from other tracks, which is a super helpful resource. I mentioned that GitHub earlier. You should be looking at that as another resource. We have video recordings of how to navigate the different tools. So we have done everything we possibly can in lieu of being one-on-one with all of you. So please take advantage. And I did drop that website link for our office hours. There's no RSVP necessary. You can just hop onto the Zoom, and that is your chance to speak with us, or we could answer any of your technical or logistical questions.
All right. We have gotten some questions also about the actual experience of the fellowship. So who are the coworkers? Are there other students or professionals? And what does mentorship look like? So I think we did touch on mentorship quite a bit, I think both during our presentation and the alumni Q&A earlier. But in terms of the coworkers, it also varies depending on the office that you get placed in. Some offices, you might be the only Coding at 4 fellow. There might be other offices where they're hiring more than one fellow, and you will be working primarily with the technical staff or non-technical staff that are already part of that team in the government office that you will be working with. All right. Were fellowships this year affected by the current administration?
Yeah, everything is in flux, such as life. And remember that pillar we were talking about, which is adaptability. We continue to adapt. And I think part of that, one of the exciting things is we also launched our Discovery program, shout out Discovery program. So if there's anyone on this call who isn't eligible for the fellowship, I would also stay tuned for the other future offerings we will have. But we're going to be committed to trying to find as many government office placements as we can for our summer fellowship for all of you.
Do the video interviews consist of a technical portion? So not at this moment, we don't expect it to be technical. It's going to be something more behavioral based. More details will be shared with you, specific instructions, preparation material, how can you do that, all of that thing, all of that good stuff. If you do get selected to move forward. So don't worry about the video interviews for now. Just focus on the actual application to turn in. All right. We've got some questions about in-person versus remote. How is location considered? Would relocation be necessary? Would housing and transportation be made available? Are there opportunities to work in person?
So I can go for this one. I think largely we are continuing to operate remote. There may be one-off circumstances of in-person opportunities, but largely if that does happen, those will be for folks who are already living in that location, that region. But more to come on that should you get to the matching and placement phase of the fellowship.
Yeah. And we've got some specific questions from a couple of folks about how to tailor their applications, how to highlight their technical skills. We wouldn't be able to answer those questions just out of fairness to all applicants that come through. I would say, again, refer back to the resume template and the examples that we have provided. Look at the link that we put in the resume template, which is the PAR format on how to write your bullet points,
Yes.
how to highlight the skills, highlight
That is
the
the best thing.
tools.
Look at that.
Exactly. Help us help you screen you out as a more qualified candidate to move forward. The easier you are to help us find information on your resume and extract the tools that you're proficient, uh, the more the better. And I would also say there was a note about, are there any specific tools that you actually need to know for a particular track? Like, say, for design, do you have to know Figma? Do you have to know Adobe, like Photoshop and things like that? Not necessarily. That's why we don't really have a long laundry list of tools that you have to know. You should be proficient with some of the most commonly used tools. You should have good understanding of the concepts and frameworks that are being used in a particular track. So I think it's a more holistic view of that technical proficiency than, say, a checklist item of like, you need to know
Mhm.
everything on this list. All right. And then I think one final question that I see here, are applications reviewed on a rolling basis or at once? We have already started reviewing, so do turn them in, but we will review your applications.
All the
There,
way up until January 19th. Again, everyone, January 19th is the date the application window closes. So that is very soon. Start working on those applications if you haven't already.
yeah, I've dropped the links in the chat as well. So the fellowship page has more kind of general information about what our fellowship is about. And the application page contains all of the eligibility requirements, the steps, the link to the form. There's also a link to the FAQ. So if you have still more questions that we have not answered today, check out the FAQ and see if it's already there. And if you have any individual eligibility questions, feel free to send it our way at fellowship@codingit4.com. I think we've got 2 minutes. So any last questions that want to come in, feel free to send it my way.
Thank you everyone for being here. I hope you all are as excited as we are for 2026 Summer Fellowship. Ooh, Helen, I see the thumbs up and the nod. Yes, thank you for that. Appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Um,
Awesome. Let me
Here's
see.
one. When will the video of this information session be posted?
Probably tomorrow, bright and early, my friend. So it'll be available for you if you need to reference any of this information. Also, our website has all of this too. Visit that, visit the GitHub. Anything else, Yuyun?
Let me see. There's one more. Is the Discovery program already live?
Oh,
That
you just
oh,
went blurry.
I got blurred.
It's all good. The Discovery program is not live at the moment. Just either keep visiting our website and or I can make a little plug for our newsletter. If you are not subscribed to our newsletter, I can drop that into the chat right now. But that is where you can stay up to date for any future programs, any future events. We're working on events too that are open to the public. So subscribe here. There you go. And we will keep you updated on all the good things we are cooking up for 2026. But I think that's everything. Thank you all so much for joining us on your afternoon, on your evening. Take very good care, and we are excited to read your applications. Deadline is January 19th, so get them in before, and we'll see you again. Take care. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. See ya.
Good night.